Which dimensioning do you prefer as an AutoCAD user, case A or case B? Of course, case B is better, but how to do that? By dimensioning style. Hey there, and welcome to your YouTube channel, Civil Engineering with Reza. It's truly an honor for me to see you here. In this episode of our AutoCAD 2025 series, our main focus is learning how to change the style of a dimension. In previous episode, we understood how to do dimensioning and also about different types of dimensioning. But now we will learn how to change each part of a dimension. Are you ready? Let's go. At first stage, we need to know what parts exist inside a dimension. You see this number here. We call this a dimension text, or it's better to say a text. Below that, we see a line. We say dimensioning line, which has two arrows, one on the left side, one on the right side. We call them arrows. And near the arrows, we have two vertical lines. We call them extension lines. So these are the names that we need to be familiar to work better with dimensioning style. But now, let's see how we can have access to our dimensioning style. We have different ways. We will learn one by one. Don't worry. We can have access from Home tab in annotation part. We can have access to this dimension style by left click. Now, the other way is coming to this annotate part. In annotate part, I have access from this part, or I can have access from this part. It's easy. And the other way is from dimensioning, dimension style. The last case and the easy way is typing dim style, enter. Now I have access to my dimensioning style. Here, intrinsically, in AutoCAD, you can see these three styles: annotative, ISO 25, and standard. In here, I have also the lists, which means that which one do you want to see in this list? All the styles or the styles in use, which means that the styles that you have utilized inside your AutoCAD project. I say I need to see all of these styles that exist. Here, as you can see, I have the first one of the options, set current. What does it mean? In here, you see that current dimension style is standard. If I click on the set current, it changes to ISO 25. It means that from now, any dimensioning that I do is based on this style. I can do it easily by double click on the standard. Now, as you see, it changed. By double click here, I have access to ISO 25. In here, I have access to new. It means that I can make a new style other than the three cases. I can give a name for it. Here says copy of ISO 25, but I say my, for example, project. Let's change it, for example, to capital. Now it says that start with which one. It means that I start the initial steps of this style based on which existing style. The ISO 25, the annotative or standard. I say, for example, ISO 25. And here says that which type of dimensioning do you want to adapt this style on them? All dimensions or the linear, angular, radius, diameter, ordinate, or leaders. I say, for example, in all of them and continue. Now, from here, you can make a new style. And if I say, for example, OK, you will see that my project comes here. I can easily push delete. But here, as you see, it says that your dimension cannot be deleted. Why? Because it's my current object. You see my project. If I want to delete that, I need to make ISO 25 as my current object. And by deleting now, it's possible to delete that. It was an important tip. Now, the other case that you can see is modify. I can modify the existing ones and change the information of the styles that exist inside ISO 25 without making a new one. It overrides this case. When I say modify from here, now it's the main page that we will see. In here, I will try to say up to 95% of the usage of these cases. It means that what a beginner and also an advanced user needs from this part, because all of them, if I want to talk about them, it's wasting your time. Because of that, I will inform all the ones that is needed for you up, and we will cover up to 95% of the information. Now we see different tabs: the line, symbol and arrows, text, fit, primary units, alternative units, and tolerances. But let's start with line. In line part, you see that we have dimensions, lines. As I told you here, we have this dimension line. In here, you see the preview of each change that you make. It means that by changing, you see these previews here, but they are not work now because you don't click on OK. After clicking on OK, they are changed. So it's important that in here, they are temporarily, that the changes that you see here. In here, I say dimensioning lines. First is the color. I can say by layer. What is layer or block? We will talk in our upcoming tutorials. But at this stage, let's see. The color is, for example, red. The other case is line type. A line can be from different types: the solid, the dashed line, the dash dot line, and different cases. I can change them, and also in our upcoming tutorials I will inform all of them, but here just a basic issue, you can see different cases. The other one is the weights, because each line has different features and characteristics. One of them is the weight of a line, and from here you can change it based on millimeter. For example, 0.3 millimeters. I say by layer is okay for me. In here, you can say baseline spacing. For example, it is intrinsically on 0.75. But what is this case? We have a type of dimensioning that I will tell you in the advanced cases of our dimensioning tutorial. In that case, we can use baseline dimensioning. In that case, we can say that the distance between each baselines can be changed by changing these values. But let's skip right now. We say suppress. What is the meaning of this? It means that when I click on dimensioning line, look at this left one, it deletes these parts. And if I say the right one, all the dimensioning line is deleted. But they need to be, and we say it's correct, to be off. In here, I can also change the extension lines, the left and right vertical lines. From here, I can change the color to red. You see that their color is changed. These are the preview of what the changes I'm doing right now. The type of these cases also can be, as you can see, I told you solid, dashed, but mainly, to make this clear for you, for dimensioning process, for the dimensioning line and the extension lines, we all the time use the continuous, or it's better to say the solid line. Also, we can change the line weight, but here I have access to suppress again. It means that to delete the left one or the right one, but now we need them and we want them to be here. In here, as you can see, we have access to extend beyond dimensioning line. What is the meaning of this? In here, you see the intersection of the extension line and dimension line. You would see this point. The value or the amount of the extension line that goes beyond this stage is this value. If I, for example, change it to 5, you will see that it goes upper. You see? But let's get back, for example, to 1.25 and it gets smaller. The other case is offset from a region. What is this case? From the object that you have here. It means that the region of starting the dimensioning, the distance or space between this and this extension line. If I give higher values, you will see more gap here. For example, I say 3. You see these gaps here. Let's change it to, for example, 0.625. When I use fixed lengths, it makes both the upper side and down side with the same values. Look at here, the same values. But let's say keep in this format. Now let's jump into the symbols and arrows tab. In this part, we want to change the style of the arrows. At first and second, first, second, we can use different styles. For example, we can use dot, we can use architectural based on your need, whatever you want, and in which states your need is important. But I say, for example, close fill is okay for first case. For the second case, I can say, okay, change it. We have different cases, but mainly we have similar for the first and second one. It is for leaders. Leaders, we will talk about them in our next tutorials, but we use leaders to give an information about an object which has a leader and also a text that gives the information for that. Here is the arrow size. It means that the size of this arrow, if I, for example, make it double, you see that the size gets double. But I say, for example, 2.5 is okay for me. It's the center marks. It talks about the center marks of a circle, the size of that. For example, it says that it can be line or marks or none. It depends. It means that here, when I select none, I say that I don't want a center mark to my circle. But let's make it to mark in the circle part. In the center mark of the circle parts, we will talk about them. But here we say about dimensioning breaks. It means that the break size in here says that display and sets the size of the gap used for dimensioning breaks. When you want to have a dimensioning breaks, you can change this value, but it's not used a lot. Let's come, for example, here again, arc length. We can say that preceding the dimensioning text, the symbol, as you remember from arc dimensioning, we use the symbol of an arc before the text that we used. Here says that it comes before the dimensioning text or says that above the dimensioning text. Again, it's about the arcs. And also it's about the jog dimensioning. These are not used a lot. I don't want to waste your time a lot. Let's go to the text part. In text part, we say text appearance. In text style, we can change the style. It means that the font or the type of, for example, italic or bold or these cases of the text that we have. Here I say the font, I want it to be Times New Roman, for example. The font I want to be bold, bold italic, italic regular. I say it's correct for me. Also, I can change other informations. I will inform also about the text style in a full tutorial later. I say apply, close. Now I change the font. Now it's time to change the color of the text. I say the red, similar to the other ones. Fill color says that what background do you want to your text. If I select, for example, the yellow here, you see it adds a background to my text value. I say no. In our practical usage, we don't use any fill colors. The text height is similar to the arrow size. Here, when I say, for example, 5, it doubles the length, the height of my text. But let's get back to 2.5, the initial value. 2.5, that's correct. Now, it's the correct case, but here I have access to other one. It says draw frame around the text. If you want to put your text inside a frame, you can click it, and now you'll have a cadre around your text, but I don't need it. The text placement talks about the position in vertical and horizontal of a text based on the dimensioning line. Here, when I say above, it means that the text is above the dimensioning line in vertical format. When I say center, you see that the dimensioning line is, the text is at the center of a dimensioning line. But here I can say that I want it to be outside of that. Here, outside works same as above in this example, not always. But I can say, for example, in below of that. But you know that this is not correct in ISO drawing format. It always needs to be the above or in the center. From horizontal one, it says that in horizontal cases, do you want your in horizontal spaces, do you want it to be at the center? It means at the center of this dimension, or to the left side or right side. If I say, for example, at the extension line 1, it adds this near to the extension line, the first extension line. When I say the second, as you see, it moves to this direction. And also it says over. It means that outside of this dimensioning line and near to the extension line over that. But mainly, as always, we use center. Here it says that offset from dimensioning line, it talks about the distance between the text and the dimensioning line. If I give the value of 5, you see what is happening. As you see, it goes further from this space, but I say this value up to now is okay for me. Text alignment, it says that as you see in here, the alignment of a text based on this dimensioning line. When I say horizontal, it means that all the texts have horizontal format. They don't change their direction or they don't align based on the dimensioning line. But if I say aligned with dimensioning line, they are rotated based on the dimensioning line. The ISO standard is also the same as this case, but they have some differences when they dimension the circles. Now, I say it's okay and keep it here. Let's talk about the fit. In fit, when you have a space, a small space, here imagine that it's your extension lines, they are small. So you have your arrows and text between these two extension lines. In here says that when the space is small, we need to add one or two of them outside the extension line. What needs to be the first thing to be outside this extension line? Do you want your text to be outside that, or do you want your arrows to be outside that? Let's read here. In fit option says that if there isn't enough room to place both the text and arrow inside extension lines, the first thing to move outside the extension line is, here says that either text or arrows, the best fits. Mainly, we use this case, but here you can say that no, first arrows outside of that, or first put the text outside of that, or say that no, I want both of the text and arrows to be outside my extension line. It's the case. Or it says that always keep the text between the extension line. Never put it outside that, although there is no space. And also says that suppress arrows if they don't fit inside extension line. It means that if I don't have enough space, if I click on this, it deletes these arrows when there is no space. I will show you in here in this example their differences, but let's put it here at this stage. And this part says that text placement. When text is not in the default position, place it beside the dimension line, over the dimension line with leader, or over the dimension line without leader. Here says that when your text is not at its position, it means that over the dimensioning line and it's outside of that. Do you want it to show with leader or without leader? Again, it depends on the cases that we have small spaces between the extension line. It depends on your usage. And also these cases are about the scaling of that and also the tuning of the text, that it's better to skip to not waste your time. But if you have any question in each of these, add at the comments below. Be sure that I will answer one by one. The other important tab is the primary units. As you remember, in the text, we have the numbers, so we want to adapt their units. We talked about units completely in our previous tutorials. We have different formats: scientific, decimal, engineering, architectural, fractional, and different cases. But mainly, it depends on your project, but decimal is okay for us. Now, I can talk about the precision, means that the number of digits after the dot. In here, I can say that I don't want any digit after the dot, or I can say, for example, 1, 2, I can have access up to, I think it's 8 or 8, yeah. I can say, for example, 8 digit, but mainly it depends on the units that you work. Is it, for example, centimeter? Is it millimeter? Is it meter? If it is meter, you can use 2 digits. If it is centimeter, you can use 1 digit. If it is millimeter, no digit. It depends also the precision of the work that you do and your project. But let's say 2 is okay for us. In here, again, says that I want to separate the true values that exist and the values after the dot. I want to separate them with the period or the comma or with nothing, a space. I say no, for example, I want to separate them with comma. It says about the rounding of that. It means that based on your value, do you want to round your number based on which precisions. Again, we can talk about the prefix. It means that, for example, I say dim. As you see, when I talk about this, let's go here. In dim, it adds DIM before the text. But if I delete it and I say that suffix is after the text that I have, for example, centimeter. But mainly they are used not a lot, because actually we add the units at a table at the bottom in a table in our drawing. We don't repeat centimeter in each of these dimensionings. We can use, for example, the scale factors for this, zero suppression, and for example, it depends about the zero suppression, the rounding conditions, and it talks about the angular dimensions. It means that your angulars, for example, we talk about the angular dimensioning. In there, we use them with degrees. It says that it's decimal degrees, degree, minutes, seconds. We talked also about them in the unit part, or gradients or radians. I say, for example, these degrees is okay for me, with which precision, and say that, okay, zero precision means leading training. Also, we will, these are not cases. They are specific cases and not, for example, current for all the people who work with AutoCAD. Because of this issue, I skip these cases. In alternative units and tolerances, tolerance talks about different tolerances that we can use on our dimensioning and alternative units, because they are mostly used in mechanical engineering and it is not widespread among these basic AutoCAD users. If you want to make it, if you want, I can make another tutorial for you, separate tutorial, just specifically on this case. But because this tutorial is for beginner users, I think stopping at this stage is enough. But let's now, I say okay, and close. As you see, we did these changes and the color are changed. But now let's make this process similar to this one step by step. Which changes we need to do? We need to change on the extension line, about the size of these numbers and arrows and different cases. Let's do one by one in a perfect manner. We say modify. In modify, the lines that we had, we don't need to change them because the colors are completely same. I want to change the arrow size 1. I can change the text 1. Also in the text, as you see, they are the above and the center. It's perfect. Let's go, for example, here I can say that at the center. Let's see what is the case. Yeah, it is in the center. So we need to change the above to center. In the fit, let's put it in this manner. But here, offset from dimensioning lines, it's okay. I want to keep it here to show you one thing. I know that it needs to be changed, but let's see what is happening. In this here, the precision is 1. Also, the things that are need to be changed, I think we need to unclick it. Let's see what is left. Yeah. Let me do this change too about the lines. In the extension part, we need to change these cases too. It's a lot, and I want to change it to, for example, 65. Let's do it in this manner and change it to 0.3. Okay, close. As you see, up to here, the changes are done in this manner, but we have difference in this values, which is comma, and also this dimensioning. Let's change that to, again, the units in the text, primary units. We need to change this comma to period. Also, in the fit, it says that it's either these cases, but for this manner, I want to say that in all these cases, not aligned case, all of these are in horizontal one. One changes, the other in here, I need to give a less value for this. And I say this one. Now, as you see, they are similar to each other. It was all the changes that we need to do to make this process completely similar. But it was not the end of our tutorial. If you have any question, add it in the comment below. We decided to manage them to teach in a complete tutorial, but in less time, to give you all the information about 95% of the important information to make this process easy for you to work with dimensioning style. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please push that thumb up and join to our community by subscribing. Share it with your friends to help them be part of our community and learn the AutoCAD by together. Thanks for watching, best wishes, take care, and goodbye.